boundaries. The question is, how do you expect yourself to set proper boundaries when you are not living up to your own values? How do you expect that to work? And second of all, people go around having this rigid wall of boundaries, but they themselves don't live up to their own boundaries. Boundaries are not about anybody else but you. And boundaries primarily are set through your value. You live by your value. Your value are the extension through which you view the world, how the world interacts with you, how you behave with yourself, and how you let others treat you. Your values is not based on your whims and desire, because your whims and desire changes all the time. Your values are there and they stand the test of the time, and independent of who it is and where you are. That means delaying that instant gratification of feeling the sense of, I feel good, I just feel like it. No. If you don't have clearly defined values, your boundaries will be inconsistent. And that's why people follow different trends. Today they follow this trend of I'm setting boundaries. The next day they follow another trend of I am the manifesto of new boundaries. It doesn't work like that. I am Muslim. So if you're a Muslim, you already have values that you have to live by. And the way you live by those values entails how other people will treat you. It tells how you set boundaries. Whenever you hear boundaries, just hear self-respect. Boundaries equal self-respect. You respect yourself by living up to your value. If you value honesty, you need to hold yourself accountable to that standard, even when it is tempting for you to not do so at the moment. When you don't respect your own value, it shows in your behaviors. If you compromise your need and don't live up to your value, that's essentially how your behaviors will end up with. And that is how other people will pick up on you, on how they should treat you. The first step into setting your boundaries is living up to your value. That means taking up the responsibility to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. The boundaries towards yourself mean not engaging in negativity that hinders your growth, will hinder your spiritual health, will darken your heart, will lead you astray, will lead you to follow your whims and desire. When you don't indulge in those activities, therefore you're teaching yourself to respect your own boundaries that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set for you. Those situations that might be uncomfortable and tempting to change, but you stick to your gut, you stick to your principle. These are the self-respect that you accumulated. Not only that, you and then teach others how to treat you, because they have seen you, how you behave in those circumstances. One of the things that we're told to not do is gossip. This is a set of values that we must follow, but not everybody live up to this value. When you don't behave in accordance to your value of Islamic values that is set, it's gonna show in your behaviors, and people gonna pick up on that. If you are the type of person that loves to gossip, guess what? You're gonna be the first person that they're gonna come to when a gossip conversation comes. Same thing. If you're not the type of person to engage in these negative convos, negative talk, guess what? You will be the last person to be approached to. I remember being in high school, a lot of people will use foul language. It's just a common language that many people use, and it's all fun and good. But one thing that I noticed is that the way people talk to me, it forces them to change their tone of voice. Not because I'm some sort of worthy person that I'm deserved to be talking certain way, but just by the set of my behaviors that I don't engage in this foul speaking, that they are forced to speak to me in a way that is not foul. If you're in school, you have your group of friends and you constantly speak certain things and it's not good, you don't get to say to the other person, don't do that. Why? Because you yourself is doing it. So you have to correct yourself first. And I'm not saying that it's all gonna be rosy and perfect. There's some days that you're gonna do something and you're not gonna like it, you're gonna feel terrible about yourself. That is the time you go back to Allah. Because no matter how much value and standard that we set for ourselves, we have to go back to Allah. That's our source. You have to go back and ask for forgiveness. Do your own homework, and it will be much easier to tell others on what to do. It will be so stupid for me to sit here and tell somebody don't drink alcohol when I myself drink it. And a lot of the time it creates this hypocrisy in ourselves. Why? We can't tell somebody don't do something, of course, because we ourselves are doing it, and it's not the best way forward. So if you really want to learn to stand up for yourself and set proper boundary, live up to your own values. That will be so much easy because you will radiate this authentic self in every space that you go. Now, part 2. How do we navigate boundaries towards other people? Because that's the juicy part. Everybody wants to set boundaries for another person, but we want to do it in a healthy way, in a way that we both can meet our need in the same space. Before we get into that, I want to touch the misconception about boundaries. Number 1 is defense mechanism disguised as boundaries. Many people are hurt, they have sorrow, and they haven't healed. Instead of healing, they create this rigid wall called boundaries. And guess what they do? They isolate themselves. Yes, it is good to protect your peace, but when you isolate yourself in the name of boundaries, you are hindering your growth, and that is not a healthy boundaries. Why? Because you're not healing. People are not just bad. We all need connection and love and care. And when you isolating yourself, you're basically saying, I don't need it. That is going to give you a spiral of sorrow, sadness, and depressed life. You don't want to be part of those group of people. Number 2 part, if I set boundaries, I have to be mean. If I set boundaries, I'm not gonna be nice. And it's like, I just want to be nice. Nice does not equate people pleasing. When people go around saying that don't be nice, what does that even mean actually? If somebody can break down to the behavior, it does not work. What do you mean don't be nice? So should I be mean to somebody? And I'm gonna explain that for a second. A lot of the time when you overextending yourself to somebody, that is where you're crossing your own boundaries. Why? Because you're doing things for somebody when you're not required to do it for them. When you do something for somebody over a period of time, when you're not required to do it, you're people pleasing them. But then somebody will be like, but I just want to be nice. I have a better solution for you, which leads me to the first thing that we need to talk about. Clear communication. It sounds trivial, but it's not as trivial as you think. I want you to ask yourself this question every time you do something for somebody. Why am I doing this thing towards that person? Am I expecting certain behavior back? If yes, are they aware that you're expecting certain behavior? Because not everybody is self-aware. If you expect a specific behavior from that person or in generality, communicate that to them. That's not your way of sitting down and start to build resentment. Resentment comes from unfulfilled desire or expectation. When we do things for people, we expect something back. And when we don't get it over a period of time, we start to resent them. We start to see them as this ungrateful beast that never appreciate my action. But the fact of the matter is they never ask you to do it for them. So you are the one that's stepping outside of your boundaries to do that for them. So don't do it. Or if you still want to do it, you say having this mindset of, I just want to be generous. Pure generosity comes from doing things for people without feeling this sense of, why do I need to do it? That's not generosity. If you're feeling like, why do I need to do this? Why they never reciprocate? Why they never appreciate? If you want to have pure generosity towards somebody, do it. Set an account or a markup. Say that I'm gonna buy this gift for this particular person 2 times, 3 times. Set a mark where when you do that activity towards that person, you're gonna feel like, well, I did my part. You're not gonna feel this burden of oh my God, I've been doing this for them, they never appreciate. No. An example of this might be, let's say you've been cooking, right? You cook, nobody appreciates your cooking. This is the 20th time you're cooking and you start to hate them. People are so ungrateful. I'm getting up every morning, every afternoon, neglecting my own stuff and cooking for these people, but they never appreciate. That's on your fault. And the first thing you need to do at that moment is just tell them that you want that appreciation. Maybe your cooking is terrible, and then they might not want to tell you to hurt your feeling, but in your head you're thinking they're super ungrateful. Either way, communicate that to them, that expectation. Just tell them, hey, I've been cooking but you don't give me feedback. I would like to know what's your thoughts on my cooking so that I can cook better for you. That's it. If you don't get that and you're like, well, I don't want to do that, I just want to stay in my lane, well, don't cook, or set the mark that you cook. Say I cook 3 times in a week, I cook twice in a week, and that's it. You gotta set that, because you don't go around having this sense of resentment towards others. Is not good, and it's not a good look to just tell people don't be nice. What does that actually mean? Don't people please. Don't overstep your boundaries. Don't do things for people when you're not required to do them and resent them later. Don't do that. And another thing, when somebody wrongs you, that's your opportunity to go and speak to them. When you guys coexisting in the same space and everybody is using the same stuff and suddenly somebody is misbehaving, for example, somebody is messing up the room all the time, that's your job to go tell them that their behaviors is hindering everybody else in the environment. That's not your job to be quiet. When you don't communicate that, guess what? They're gonna do it repeatedly. It's not gonna stop at that one space. It's gonna go somewhere else. The next time is in your room. The next time is outside when you guys go somewhere. You need to have this attitude where first time you approach to people, you gotta be very strict. That means the first step they do to disrespect you, you have to call them out on it. If you let it slide, they're gonna do it the second time. And this is not about being mean or being disrespectful. This is about saying that I don't appreciate this behavior of yours. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And if you really cherish this relationship between us, I will appreciate your consideration in changing your behaviors. They're gonna do it. If they're not, then you give them that chance, and then you can distance yourself from there. The second part is collaborate. You need to have optimistic view of people. Many people want to improve, they want to learn, they want to grow. Most people don't want to be seen as terrible. Everybody wants to contribute to society, and because of that, when you have the collaborative mindset, when you say, well, this particular behavior of yours does not meet my need, but I need this particular behavior of yours in order to meet my need. Now you guys are coexisting in the same space. You talk about things that will work for you guys so that each one of your need is met respectfully. A lot of the time we create this rigid wall of this is just my space, don't do this, don't do that. No, give people the chance to correct their behavior. If you don't give people the chance, you kind of brush them off and be in silence and expect that they will change in the next 100 years. That's never gonna happen. However, when you open that conversation and say, is there something that you need help with that I can help you so that we can have a better environment for both of us, that is where you create a healthy boundaries. Each one of you will understand that this is the line that I should not cross for this particular person. And that is the healthy way of living. It's not always about this rigid wall. It's so easy to piss off a stranger outside and brush them off. But when it comes to your space, your family, you have to check them up with their behaviors. And a lot of the time, collaboration becomes crucial to the space and the environment you're living in. The third part is staying consistent in your own boundaries. You know what we do? We have different boundaries towards different people. and that creates anxiety towards us. It makes us feel hypocrite. Stay consistent. That means if I don't tolerate certain behavior with one particular friend, same thing, I don't tolerate the same behavior with others. If you have siblings around you and you can't tolerate certain behavior towards one sibling, don't tolerate the same towards another. A lot of the time, people around us start to see that the boundaries we set is only for them, it's not for other people. So if we treat this sibling better, we treat this sibling negative, we say that don't do this to me, we let another person slide. No, you have to stay consistent with everybody. Number 4 is self-accountability, because being self-aware helps you to stay accountable to your action. If you have a particular responsibility towards somebody, you need to fulfill that to the best of your ability. What I hear so many people do, they go in the name of boundaries and neglecting responsibilities towards others. Remember that we are an amana towards each other, and when you're neglecting responsibility towards another person, guess what? They're gonna scream on top of you. That is why you need to make sure that if you have responsibility towards somebody, fulfill it to the best of your ability. So when they come running at you and screaming in the lungs of you didn't do this, you do, you have receipts to prove that you have been responsible towards them, and maybe their complaint is something else, is not about you. Another thing as well about accountability is that you apologize when you're wrong. Everybody want to be the one to be apologized to, but nobody wants to step in and apologize to the person. If you're wrong somebody, they dislike your behavior and it hinders them, you need to apologize to that person. That person is gonna even respect you more. It doesn't matter they're old, younger, bigger than you, it doesn't matter. Just apologize. It's gonna clear your consciousness. Your boundaries is going to be filtered through your behavior primarily, because nobody is gonna walk around having the tagline saying these are my boundaries and respect them. If you don't, you're this and that. You feel disrespected or neglected, or your needs are not met in certain situations, you need to ask yourself, is there something that I am tolerating within my own space that is making me let the other person go? You have to go back and look within yourself first at all the time. And this one comes back to living up to your value and building a leadership behavior. This is not about self-blaming, it's about seeing the potential growth that you can do constantly over and over time. As always, Assalamu alaikum. If you enjoyed this video, I hope this video truly benefits you to see boundaries in different lens. I have a lot of new subscribers, and I want to say I thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel, and let's go together, build resilient mind with faith in God.